In this lesson, we're going to talk about a convergent and divergent sequence, and we're going to do a lot of different examples. So let's get started. Well, but before we go through those whole type of examples and questions, I just want to tell you what convergent sequence and divergent sequence is. So when you count to the convergent sequence means if the question converges to some specific number, it means that that number or that question is a convergent sequence. And if it is divergent, divergent sequence means a type of sequence that does not converge to some specific number. It just diverges. It's kind of like it's unlimited number. It continues all the time. There's no number that can hold it. So that's the thing when you count the divergent sequence and the convergent sequence. But it's kind of like it's a little bit hard to just explain it by with words. So I hope you guys can understand it when we do some type of examples. So let's do some type of examples. Well, when you count to the first question, this first question says that n plus 5 over 3n plus 3. So when you guys have this type of question that has n in the denominator and also in the numerator, you can literally guess that this sequence is a convergent sequence. So, and it converges to what number, or it converges to the last number, it converges to 1 over 3. This is actually the shortcut for knowing the sequence, if it is a convergent, like convergent or divergent. But all the time, I can assure you guys if there's n on both sides, or if there's kind of like a higher power on both sides, that sequence is going to converge, and it's going to converge to the number that has the n or the highest power. So that's the thing, that's how it works if there's kind of like an n on both sides. So as you guys can see, this sequence, it will converge to one specific number, and that is 1 over 3. But if we want to choose the long process, the thing that you have to do is just you have to substitute all the numbers, just 1 and 2 and 3, and then check it, and then after that you're gonna get this 1 over 3, and that will be your last answer. So but this is the thing, or it will converge to 1 over 3. So I hope you guys understand it now, because uh, this is what a convergent means. If it is a convergence, it means it will change to one specific number. So that's the thing with a convergent. So we're gonna see some a lot of different examples, and we're gonna see some type of question with the divergent too. So now let's go to some other type of questions. Well, when it comes to the second question is also the same as the previous one. We got these two n's over here. There's n over here, and there's also another n in both sides, in the denominator side, and also uh, on a denominator. So for that reason, this question is also a convergent, and it will converge to what? It will converge to 1 over 3, since this is the number that has the n. So this will be your number or your answer. So it converges to 1 over 3. So 1 over 3 is the answer for this question, for this specific example, and it will converge to 1 over 3. So, I mean 1 over 2. So now what about the third one? When you count to the third question, there's two n's. There's n in the denominator and also in the denominator, but there's also another n and this one, and also this one. But when you guys got this type of question, you gotta choose the one with the highest power. So when you compare these two n's, or this one with this one, the one with the highest power is 5n raised to 2. So I'm going to choose 5n raised to 2 than that of the 4n. So for that reason, I'm going to say that this specific example is going to converge, and it will converge to the highest number, and that will be 5 over 2. It will converge to 5 over 2. Since we got this 2n raised to 2 and 5n raised to 2, this is the highest power. So if you guys got n with the highest power, you just gotta use you just gotta choose the highest power. Just forget about this whole thing and choose the highest power, and that will be your last answer. So my answer is 5 over 2 will converge to 5 over 2, since I got this n raised to 2, the whole of it to n raised to 2, and this is my highest power. So it means that it will converge. So now what about the fourth one? What about D? So when it comes to D, D is kind of like we gotta check, we gotta just substitute some numbers, since we don't have any, it's not a rational number. So for that reason, I have to check. So when I check this, I'm gonna get -3 let me just take 1. So when you take 1, you're gonna get negative 3 itself. So negative 3 to the whole the power of 3 will be what? 3 times by 3 is 9. It will be positive 9. So, and the whole the power of 3, when you make it the power of 3, will be negative 27. And then it continues this way. It will be 87, and you're gonna get a lot of numbers when you substitute a natural number in the end spot. So when you guys got this type of question that has no limit, or if it always continues, if it continues all the time, it means that this question is a divergent sequence. So this one is not a convergent, it's a divergent sequence. So it diverges. It's not, it will not converge, it will diverge, it diverge. It's not a convergent sequence. Since we don't have any limit, it always continues all the time. That's the thing that makes it divergent. So if you guys got this type of question that always continues all the time, when you substitute some numbers, some constant numbers, and the end spot, you're gonna call this one a divergent sequence. So I hope you guys understand some sort of stuff about this convergent and divergent sequence now. So now let's just add some type of examples, some other examples. Okay, so now when you count this example, this one's a little bit different. We don't have n on both sides. We only have n in the denominator. So we got to substitute now. So when I substitute, I'm going to get 1 over 1 will be what? It will be 1. And 1 over 2, I mean 0.5. And 1 over 3, 1 over 4, 1 over 5. And would be 1,000, 1 over 1,000, 1 over a million. So when you got substitute just about a million, or kind of like a huge number in this end spot, the answer or your result will be close to 0. So you can literally say that it is a 0. So for that reason, this will change to 0. So for that reason, we're gonna say this, or we can call this one a convergent, since it just converts to some specific number, and that will be 0. So all the time when you guys got this type of examples, when you substitute thousands, when you substitute a million, it will literally become 0. So when you guys got this type of situation, it means that this sequence, or this specific example, is a convergent sequence, and it will converge to 0. So this is the thing. So this question is, it converts to 0. So what about the last one? The last one says that 1 over n raised to 2 plus 3. So it's kind of like a similar situation. So when you substitute this, you're gonna get 1 raised to 2 is just 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4. And then 2 raised to 2 is just 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. So it continues this way. So it's kind of like the same thing. When it's just 1,000, it would be, a million, and a million plus 3, a million and 3. And, it's kind of like it will literally become 0. So this one is also equal to 0. So it's kind of like these two are the same questions. So this one is also a convergent sequence, and it will converge to 0. So, but there's kind of like another thing that you have to know when it comes to these last two questions. These questions are also kind of like there are zero sequences. So since they converge to 0, they call them sometimes, like a 0 sequence. So that's the thing. So all the time, if you guys got the n in the denominator, most of the time it converts to 0. So, and that's the thing you have to understand. So this is it for guys. This is it for this video, and I hope you guys get benefited from this video. And so guys know, when you count to the convergent sequence, it has to converge to some specific number. But when you count to the divergent, it means that it's going to continue all the time. There's no limit. And if you guys got that type of situation, it means that that one is just a divergent, since we don't have any constant number. So since we're not gonna get any constant number, it means that that will be a divergent sequence. So this is it, and we're done. And this is all you have to know when it comes to this convergent sequence and the divergent sequence. And thanks for watching, and have a good day.